I now have the pleasure of introducing you to a young woman who's already well on her way to having as dramatic a life story as Sydney's. Soipan is from a Maasai village of 400 people on the Kenyan plains, an area where wealth is measured in cattle and land, and where girls do not attend school. But Soipan was an outlier from the beginning. She not only attended school, she got a law degree from the University of Nairobi and went on to do her graduate law studies at the University of Washington. She now leads Landesa's work in Kenya and is going to share with you some of the progress being made in her country. Soipan.
Good afternoon. Tim spoke a bit about how Landesa works, and I hope to give a sense of the potential of this work. In 2010, the Kenyan people approved a new constitution. This is a document that promises many wonderful things, such as the recognition and protection of the social and economic rights of all Kenyans, including the right to health and food. And the Constitution equally attempts to decentralize power, to promote democracy and accountability. And, most promising of all, the Kenyan new Constitution grants equal rights for women. But I urge us to hold off the celebration. Because although these lofty values within our Constitution, although we have them enshrined in our Constitution, what they represent for ordinary Kenyans are merely aspirational goals. And I'll tell you a story to illustrate this point. I am a Maasai, and since time immemorial, Maasai land has been communally owned. But there has been constant pressure to individualize land ownership, and the thinking behind this is probably quite familiar to all of us. Individual ownership will allow people to get loans, build things on their land, make investments in land like irrigation or orchards, all this to improve lives, as we just saw in the Rwandan film just now. And my community is currently working through this process of individualizing land ownership. They have assigned a committee made up of all men to manage this process. These men are now mapping the land, and they are documenting the men who are using the land now. They are documenting the men who have used the land in the past, and they are documenting the boys in the community, however young, who are entitled to the land. And I'm saying this not to make the men in the audience squirm in their seats. I'm saying this really because it is true that in my community, like in many communities across Kenya, women are often treated as if they did not exist. So me, a grown woman, I am not entitled to an inch of land according to the system my community has established. But my nephew, who is not yet 2 years old, his name is on the register, and he will get land. But me, no. A widow with children, no. A single mother with children to feed, no. And so, I am a lawyer, and I went into the legal field to help injustices just like this. So, of course, I had to do something within my community. So I applied to the Community Land Committee citing provisions of our new constitution that say that women can no longer be discriminated against, that women are supposed to have equal rights to those of men. When news of my appeal spread, people in my community were up in arms and still are. How can a woman have a piece of land? They are asking. Some in the community are, however, pushing the elders to give me a small piece of land, but only so I'll go away and be quiet. But that is not my intention. My intention is for them to understand that I have a right and other women have a right too. I'm still waiting to hear the decision of this committee, but I am optimistic. And why am I optimistic? Because of the work I am doing with Landesa in Kenya. This work shows that not only is change possible, it is happening right now. Landesa's work in Kenya involves many of the same issues. We are working in the halls of Kenya's capital to remove ambiguity and help craft land laws that spell out that women can own land, can inherit land, and can buy and sell land. That women must be consulted in all family land dealings. At the same time, Landesa has also created a pilot program working with a community in a very remote and poor area of Kenya. And this pilot is to help ensure that the ideals enshrined in Kenya's new constitution become a reality for Kenyan women. Our pilot program involves guided community conversations and education in schools among the elders and chiefs, and women too. We focus on the new constitution, women's land rights, and women's rights more broadly. We see women's land rights as the first step, not only in poverty alleviation, but also in wider efforts to establish broad equal rights for women. We have educated these chiefs and elders and community members about what the Constitution says about women land rights and access to justice. Now, when I first arrived in the pilot community and began this work, here is what the local assistant chief, Jonathan Sadera, told me about the new constitution.
Na ore bade jonija na njere ore da ba dor masai na kegol na eni ore ba dor masai don tomono na to ngana bala kaburi olengiti.
But after 5 months of intensive community conversations with all the area chiefs, this is what he now has to say.
Ni wonta ile bunyel ngana bogen be do yara le fole umaskini. Amara ba doga na or ba na ba ko jendo ki whether wrong or right assure that na ito rono de ni sida na nya ba ko jo kage to da jiri fo sin jendo mono na ki correct ku le do kiti afi changi di ku le do na araf nyole mi de mara ya kedor ya kedor.
And it is not just talk, ladies and gentlemen. Assistant Chief Sadera already has placed a plot of land in his wife's name. The impact of the work we have begun in Kenya is dramatic and far-reaching. And as an attorney, my work with Landesa validates my commitment to community lawyering, which has been the missing link between constitutional reforms and real change for majority of rural populations in Kenya, especially women. This means Kenyan women will not have to battle and fight and file special petitions to get land, as I have done. They will be treated equally in land dealings and eventually in all other spheres of life as well. I'll now let Assistant Chief Sadera explain the long-term impact as he sees it within his own community.
Kimaanisha njere kishori sininche equal opportunities ana layo. Enkipirta orkasi, enkipirta duo nafasi school, enkai kipirta duo sidai pookin. Pemitu sinche adol anaa neeku ninche entoki naji second option. Naa ketiu enaa enoshi ning'as alo window shopping pilo for the second price. Kake peeku kiponu sinche metaa for the higher, yani ndiata higher price. Nishori ninche equal opportunities ntoyie ashu enkayiok.
Thank you. Thank you.